Are you ready?
As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be a home run.
You know, they have those nerds clusters, which is new. Yeah, which is good.
10-5! Touchdown!
Unjustifiably in a position that I'd rather not be in, but the cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
What are we doing?
Why all the long faces? We're not dead yet.
Don't worry, nobody's listening anyway.
All right, it's week 2, Press Box After Dark. What's up, boys? How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Good.
Splendid. No one else?
Splendid.
Doing good, man.
Are you splendid or Splenda?
Nah, I don't like that stuff. Give me the real,
Real sugar. It's bad for you though, right? Or is Splenda bad for you?
You know what I like? I like that Truvia stuff.
What is that?
Jordan, do you put sugar in your coffee?
When I drink Honey. coffee, I'm a cowboy coffee guy. Straight black coffee. Don't need anything else.
Oh,
Your coffee's good enough. You don't have to water it down with all the other stuff.
Yeah. I have to put a little creamer in there. I don't like the taste.
yeah. I'm a white girl when it comes to my coffee. I like a lot of creamer and a splash of coffee.
A little pumpkin spice in
No
there for
pumpkin
you.
spice, even though it's about to overtake all of us because it's about to be October. I guess, does it start in September? When does pumpkin spice start?
Well, first of all, it's about to be September.
Well, I know that.
Second of all, it starts in
Oh, Jesus Christ.
It does?
Also,
I associate it with Oktoberfest.
no offense, Hunter, but you seem like the person on this podcast most likely to know when pumpkin spice season starts.
I mean, that's a fair assessment, but I'm more of like a French vanilla or a Cinnabon cinnamon roll creamer kind of guy.
Well, I was going to say, in our
Those
office,
are not
I mean,
coffee.
you used to have the most
Yeah.
outrageous coffee.
Yeah, me and
creamers in our
Cameron, when we
office.
were working at ACU, we had every random flavor of coffee creamer that they would come out with. I would buy it and put it in the office. And I say the Eggo waffle one is actually low key really good.
What's the most obscure flavor?
My favorite obscure flavor.
Oh, we had cinnamon toast crunch.
Cinnamon
was
Toast
good.
Crunch was really good. The most obscure one that I liked was the Grinch Christmas cookie one, and it was by it's not Coffee Mate, but what's the brand? What's the other brand, Cameron? There's like two brands, like Coffee Mate and the other one. I don't know.
I'm not into big.
Well, this is the
Not
product.
big
I don't know.
pharma. It's big.
I don't know.
Big creamer.
I don't know. But the Christmas cookie one was good. But I mean, this is a hell of a way to open up episode 2 of Press Box After Dark. We are back, ladies and gentlemen, bi-weekly podcast, our sports and whatever else we want to talk about of these 5 guys that all met at Abilene Christian University. I'm Hunter the Commish. We've heard Zach, the bald guy, is what his tagline is tonight. Jordan, who is the self-proclaimed winner of the Bluebell draft, is with us. Cameron, all the way in North Kakalaki, over there in North Carolina. And our producer, the best producer in the business, Landon, looking sharp as ever. Boys, are we feeling good, though? I know we just talked about random coffee for about 5 minutes, but are we feeling good, though?
I thought we had got a new producer there for a moment.
No shot.
You prefaced it with the best in the business, so I wasn't sure if Landon had gotten
Jesus.
replaced. No,
unfortunately,
Glenn
Glenn
isn't.
Glenn.
R.I.P.
Poor Landon.
We've tried
to outsource to Glenn,
but he won't take the job. Like weddings, he's like, nah, fam.
Well, see, the problem with outsourcing jobs right now is that we make no money doing this, so we can't really hire anybody. But sponsors, if you're listening, give us a shout out. Any of them.
I mean,
Hobby
here's
Lobby?
the thing. The moment someone offers us a penny for Press Box After Dark,
we're selling out hard. It's not even close. It's just not even close.
I just
Then
want
I
y'all to
quit
know
the
there's a
show and
tab.
you
There's a
guys.
minimum tab over here. So
Yeah. My goal is to quit the show and you guys. so
Jesus.
I don't know how
I
to do
did.
that.
I did say in episode 0 that this podcast would self-destruct by like episode 12. We got a good run ahead of us. A lot of stuff to talk about. We got a few topics. We're going to draft again. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say for everybody that listened in episode 1, this is my redemption tour. I'm out for revenge tonight in our draft, and I'm about to get to our topics of what we're going to talk about. But let's go on the rundown. Well, actually, before the rundown, let's talk about where you can find us. So we are Press Box After Dark. You can find us on Twitter. That's at PressBoxAD. You can listen to all of our podcasts on Spotify and Apple Music. You find us there at Pressbox After Dark. We are now on Instagram, trying to grow some followers there. I think we're all the way up to 7. So look at us.
Well, 5 of them.
Yeah, 5 of them are us. So I think the other 2 are our wives, Zach. And I'm pretty sure Katie doesn't even follow us, Jordan. So get on that. But we are on Instagram. That's, again, at Pressbox After Dark. And you can catch really everything that we do. The main places you can find us is our website. It is PressBoxAfterDark.com. All of our blogs are there. All of our podcasts are there. 3 Up, 3 Down is our weekly MLB blog typed by Jordan. It is the best MLB blog in the business. I will fight anybody for that. That is a great blog. You should read it. And we are doing our weekly picks for Four Man Front. That's our college football blog. So we'll be giving you weekly picks every single week for college football. We're going to recap our week 0 picks when we talk about week 0. People in this group did not do well, but we will talk about that when we get there. Rundown for what we're talking about this week. Jordan, you raised your hand. Do you have a question?
No, I assumed you were referencing me with the people that didn't do well.
I'm
in
not
the picks.
pointing fingers at anybody. Finger pointing gets us nowhere.
I was pointing
Oh,
at
okay,
myself.
my bad. Well, as always, we're going to close the show with Hang a Banner. Obviously, if you listened last week, that's a great fun segment that each of us just gets a couple of minutes just to talk about whatever we want to talk about. We're going to hang a banner for something going on in the sports world or something going on outside the sports world. We don't even know.
Yeah, we're gonna have to clarify that for the listeners so they understand what the segment is, because I think there might have been some
Okay.
confusion.
We'll clarify it whenever we
Okay.
get there.
I like it. We will talk about our favorite games that we're looking forward to in week 1 of college football that starts on Thursday. Outside of the teams that we actually root for ourselves, because we broke that down last week, we are drafting again tonight. We are going to draft breakfast cereals, and everybody is excited for this. Zach is going to contribute this week because he can have breakfast cereal. So there we go. We are going to talk
without milk.
We are going to talk about USA flag football and who should represent us at the quarterback position, because there's been some controversy over Twitter about that. Potentially UConn moving to the Big 12 and what that means moving forward. Gonna look at that a little bit. Definitely got to touch on week 1, but we're especially going to touch on what happened in Dublin, Ireland between Florida State and Georgia Tech. But I don't think there's any better place to start than, in my opinion, the best story in all of college football in week 0 so far. The Delaware State Hornets somehow missed their flight to Honolulu to play a football game against Hawaii. And I just can't fathom how that happened at all. Does anybody want to chime in and explain to me how Delaware State missed their flight to the football game that they scheduled probably years ago?
I'll hop in here. You know, as a former football ops guy, we had the luxury of chartering planes, which, Delaware State, HBCU, low funding. So they're trying to find an airport that can take them there. Now, they obviously can't pay for a hotel in New Jersey or something. So they're coming in the day of. Yeah, you could have said that they could have left a little bit earlier, but they ran into traffic. It happens. But, the most interesting part of this is they went over, I think I saw somewhere it was like 6 different commercial flights that they just split their team up into, and they just all got there at a different time, which I think is nuts.
Oh.
Definitely not a fun time to be a DFO, I would assume. But that's kind of, you just got to roll with the punches in that job. Luckily, they were going a couple days early at people due to Hawaii for this exact reason, not just for the time change, to make sure all your stuff gets there. So, yeah, but it sucks for all parties involved, for sure.
I mean, I don't know.
I feel like Delaware State was just reenacting planes, trains, and automobiles. Like, just trying to figure out a way to get to Hawaii for this football.
That is the first planes, trains, and automobiles reference on this podcast, and I promise you it won't be the last.
Well,
Anybody know what Delaware State got paid?
Like them home aloneing through the airport,
Oh,
to
yeah.
try to make this flight. I can't. It's so odd to me to even think about that. They didn't even. Were they even close? Like, were they close to making the flight, or did they miss
Looks
it by
like
a day?
it was
Like,
an
what
hour.
was it?
They missed it by an hour.
Well, that's
it
not
said.
Hour.
Yeah. And,
What did they
I
get
was
paid to
talking
go to
about
Hawaii?
it was 180,000. I just looked it up.
That's it?
Yep.
That's all they made
Dang.
for that game. No.
Yep.
Must have been Spirit.
I bet if it was 2A that they'd have been on time.
Well, and that's the other thing I was talking with somebody about this week. Is like, why didn't they go to Philly? Yeah, you had to connect through DFW or something like that, but that's such a shorter drive. You don't have the New Jersey traffic. Like, I don't understand
Well,
that piece of it.
I guess
so.
Landon, it sounds like you know more about this. Like, where were they trying to fly out of originally?
Yeah, so they were flying out of Newark in New Jersey. So that's
Yeah.
6 or 8 hour drive. I can't remember what it was. Something.
Yeah, that's
fairly
basically
substantial.
going to New York City when they're right next to Philly.
Yeah, so you could go to Philly, you could go to Baltimore, and again, you have to connect through those, but at least you didn't have to drive into New Jersey. So
Yeah,
Well, and at least your
I
team
mean,
is still together.
yeah, for sure.
Well, I was gonna say you're gonna have to connect anyways all the way to Hawaii. So
Well, see, my thought though is that I don't know, Landon, do you know when this game was scheduled? Because it had to be a couple of years in advance. And so my thing is like, you couldn't rally up enough donors to try and charter a flight or try to do something and make it a big trip for all of your high-end donors and alumni. Take them to Hawaii, let the kids go, have a good time, make a whole week of it. And obviously, like, they made it there, and they played, and they covered the 40-point spread. So shout out Landon. He backed the Hornets even though they had travel trouble for his week 1 lot. My thing is that when I saw the story break, is like, how can we not have one person or maybe a group of like 10 people rally together and say, hey, let's do this for these kids in our university and put a good foot forward for Delaware State?
So this game was agreed to, according to this article I'm reading, in February. So about the time that everybody's doing their regular schedules. So, you know, I mean, they didn't really have that much time, and there's not much funding outside for FCS programs, and that's an issue for sure.
I guess here's the thing you need to remember is that with Hawaii, since it's week 0, there's a million teams that you could play. So, like, I don't think you have to really plan it that far out in advance, because you could play anyone. Pretty much.
Well, then maybe should we put the blame on Hawaii for if you could pick anybody and you pick Delaware State? I mean, you couldn't pick anybody, you know, like west of Texas.
No, I mean,
they played Vanderbilt the past 2 years. I mean,
yeah.
So it's random teams that they play week 0.
But I was a home and home with Vandy though, so Vandy got like a home and home. So
yeah,
I don't know. It was kind of a crazy deal. It was a crazy story. I thought it was the funniest story out of week 0. I'm glad they got there, but I think the biggest story to come out of week 0 was Florida State, Georgia Tech in Dublin. And we're not talking about drunk Pat McAfee. Shout out Cameron in West Virginia. But we're talking about the football game itself. And Florida State drops game 1, 24-21, walk-off field goal. If you didn't watch it, what were you doing Saturday morning? It was the game that everybody was tuned into across the country. It got me jacked up for football. And the first question that I'm going to ask about this game is, DJ Uiagalelei, the most overrated quarterback in the recruiting era, like the 5-star or like the recruiting rankings era, because this dude was a higher rated recruit than CJ Stroud, who tore up the NFL last year, and this guy still cannot get it done in college. What does everybody think about this in this game?
Yeah, I mean, he's on his 3rd college, so I mean, I can't blame him for going to Florida State, because he was at Oregon State last year, right? Yeah, so I can't blame him for leaving that situation, because that was crazy. But admittedly, I didn't get to watch a ton of this game. I watched a lot of the 4th quarter because I was doing some stuff for work. But yeah, it just looked like Georgia Tech was controlling the game a lot better. And Florida State, I mean, I guess give them credit in the 4th quarter. They made some big plays, some 4th down conversions, and so I don't think that DJ looked terrible, but you know, struggled to put drives together and until the end when he clutched up on a couple 4th downs on that last drive. But Georgia Tech, I mean, they were running the ball so well, and Florida State knew it was coming, and they couldn't stop it. So I don't know. I'll be interested to see how Georgia Tech does after that as well, because, I mean, obviously Florida State was undefeated last year, didn't get in. People kind of doubted them, and I think people were still doubting them, even being 10th to start the year. So I don't know. I don't know how Florida State's going to do, and I'm interested to see how Georgia Tech turns out this year.
Did you watch the game, like the entirety of
the
game?
I watched from the moment that they did the pan-in shot to the moment that Brett Key said, run the ball. So, yeah.
Let me ask you a question then. Anybody else watch the whole game, Zach?
Not the whole thing.
Okay.
No, just the late
So, Hunter, you're the only one of us that watched the game finish. Let me ask you, is this rust for Florida State? Is this a new quarterback trying to figure out teammates and playbook, or are they just not going to be good?
I think it's a little bit of both, because when I was reading on this game, and I put it in our picks article as my bonus pick, I took Georgia Tech plus 10.5. And the reason I did that is because Georgia Tech was bringing back a lot. They had a lot of cohesiveness on the offensive line, and they were also bringing back a 1,000-yard rusher and Haynes King, who actually had 27 touchdown passes last year. And I didn't realize that he threw that many touchdown passes. He threw 16 picks, but he had a great year last year. And so my theory that I wrote in the article last week was, if they can clean it up and they can establish the run, which I thought they could because Florida State had to replace a lot, they did well in the portal and they have dudes. Like Florida State's not a pushover. And so I think that they're still going to have a good season. But my thought was that if Georgia Tech can, establish the run, then there's a chance that this game is going to be a lot closer. Now, I still thought Florida State was going to win. And when the opening drive happened, DJ looked in rhythm and they were fine. But obviously, as most of y'all know, as we're all football fans here, they script that first drive and maybe the first two drives. And so Florida State was in rhythm. And then when it got out of those first two drives, Florida State just could not get really any momentum going. And so it just looked like, they were looking a little shaky. And then Georgia Tech, really the program that Brett Key has built just kind of took over, I think, a little bit. And they punched them in the mouth and they just didn't let up.
Does that change your season forecast for Florida State at all?
Yes and no. I mean, their schedule's still pretty manageable. I'm going to pull it up. But, I mean, just the overall attitude that Georgia Tech had, it was really impressive. And I'm really interested to see where they go. I like what Cameron was saying. Like, this really changes the ACC a lot and really opens it up even more than I think people were thinking it was going to be initially. But let me pull up Florida State's schedule. I mean, did anybody else watch any more outside of the fourth quarter?
Well, and I'm not surprised that Georgia Tech, I don't think you should be a 10.5-point favorite week 0 in Ireland.
In a conference game at a neutral site.
It's a conference game, and Georgia Tech beat a couple of top 25s last year, and they're not terrible. And Florida State, I thought their defensive line was supposed to be their strength, and they gave up almost 200 yards on the ground.
I have a very serious question. I'm legitimately not trying to be funny here. How do Florida State and Georgia Tech play in Dublin, Ireland?
I don't know. I was kind of hoping Landon could get on the old Google machine and figure it out.
Like they did this with Notre Dame before, and that makes sense.
So I don't know who the company was that was the sponsor, but I think they've sponsored that Ireland game the last 3 or 4 years, because this hasn't been the first. This wasn't the first one, because Notre Dame played last year, and then you had that classic Nebraska Northwestern game,
right? And they got a great game out of it. Is there a big Florida State or Georgia Tech following?
I think it's just that company. I don't know if it's a tourism company or what, but I think they've been trying to sponsor this once a year. Does anybody know?
Aer Lingus. I'm looking at it right now. It's Aer Lingus College Football Classic, and they're just trying to bring, looks like, NCAA football to Ireland. And so I guess I don't know how they pick who wants to do it, but they just kind of throw some stuff out there and
also
sticks.
Ban conference games in week 0.
Yeah, that's kind of fair. I do agree with that.
Awful.
I do agree with that, because that does change things.
But that's why 10.5 was too high.
Here's some gold from the Florida State athletic director. It says Florida State is a global brand, and this game further enforces that. This game allows us to provide an unmatched athletic and cultural experience for our student athletes.
Global brand with the sport of American football is hard.
That's not how that works.
Maybe.
Hold on though, I want to back up. Say that last part for me one more time, Landon. Unmatched.
This game allows us to provide an unmatched athletic and cultural experience for our student athletes.
Okay, so they're the first ever team to be ranked 17th in the ACC. That's historic.
I mean, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. Here's the outlook for Florida State for the rest of the year. They got Boston College they have another standalone game. They standalone on Monday against Boston College. Then they play Memphis at home, which could be really interesting because Memphis is one of the group of 5 darlings that could be the 12 seed in the playoffs. So keep an eye on that game. Then they have Cal, SMU, who's on fraud watch for what they did in Reno. Then they have Clemson, which I predicted that to be a win, but that's probably looking like a loss now. They go to Duke, and then they follow that up with a trip to Miami. They have North Carolina. Then they have to go to Notre Dame, Charleston Southern, and then that game at the Swamp to end the year for them at Florida looks a lot different now. I still see a good season there, but, I mean, 10-2 is going to be a stretch for them because that means that they have to – I mean, they can only lose one more, and I think that there's at least 2 losses on that schedule. So I don't think Florida State's going to make the playoff now.
And this is why this was my argument for a bigger playoff.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody talks about no margin for error. Well, now you have all the margin for error in the world now because we're up to 12 teams. Well, this team just lost in week 0, and there's a chance it could haunt them going to the playoff. Like, don't tell me 12 teams was a mistake. No. It is perfect. Well, Georgia Tech did a wonderful job. Florida State still had the time of possession by a minute. Georgia Tech was better on 3rd down and outrushed them, but Florida State had more passing yards. I mean, it was just a weird game.
It is kind of weird that they had more
It was pretty-
passing
It was
yards.
pretty even. It is
very
what it
even.
was.
24-21 is a very accurate final score for how the game was played, quite honestly.
It got me excited for college football, and I mean, just to kind of recap our picks for week 0, we only did locks, so we'll do our picks of the week every week. We'll do a lock of the week, which is against the spread. We'll do a straight up pick for an upset, so any underdog that is on the line on Thursday, so it's a straight up, not against the spread. Then we'll do our super dog. That's an underdog that is greater than a touchdown. And then we'll do our over-unders of the week. So check that out on Twitter, PressBoxAfterDark.com. I'll be doing an article with that, breaking down at least my picks.
Hunter, I want to throw this out there, and I know this probably doesn't mean anything to anybody, but we did the picks last year as well, just kind of within this group, and we don't bet anything on it. It literally is 5 friends talking college football and making fun of each other. But when we started this, I wrote them on a sticky note and left it on the bottom of my computer at work. And since then, I've changed jobs, and that sticky note is still on my computer at work. And literally, since college football season ended, I have looked at that every day, circled when college football is back, just because I love doing the picks. I don't know. It makes college football that much more interesting and fun for me.
And now Jordan is going to make a list of teams he will never bet on every week.
So so let me segue into this real quick for Jordan. So we are now going to start the first ever Press Box After Dark no picks list. These are teams that somebody out here is putting on the no picks list, and that goes for the rest of the season until 2025. And I think Jordan likes to make an entry on the list here. So start the list off right, Jordan.
They're a big steaming pile of nope, and that would be Florida State. Listen, I took the bait after you got dusted in a bowl game last year, when everybody knew you didn't belong, and then on your revenge tour, you came out and proved all the reasons that everybody was right. Mike Norvell's 2-8 without a certain quarterback. It is what it is, man, but I legitimately thought they were going to cover that game. Cameron and I went back and forth on the Delaware State game, and then neither one of us were brave enough to pick either team in that game. We both picked Florida State, and now we're both tied for last. Florida State, never again.
So we're going to make a graph.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I want to add Hawaii to that list. Even though I didn't pick them, I backed them up in the group chat with you guys, and to be clear, I wasn't talking so much about how Hawaii was really, really good. I was really just kind of referring to how bad of a football team Delaware State is. And I fell asleep last night, so I didn't watch. I woke up and the thing was like, your broadcast has ended. I was on that Team One Sports app or whatever. I deleted the app this morning as soon as I woke up. I don't need to watch Hawaii football the rest of the season. But I got bagged and tagged.
Would it start at midnight your time?
Yeah.
A midnight kick? Yeah.
That's just brutal.
I have one separate thought about that game, by the way.
Just one?
I didn't know there was a Delaware State until they missed their flight. So I don't know. Maybe this is great PR for them. I don't know.
Hey.
Oh my gosh.
Sometimes.
So I'm going to make a graphic for the list.
For somebody.
So we got Florida State and we got Hawaii.
And the Rainbow Warrior
are on the no picks list. Okay. Landon,
Never
do you
again.
have anybody you want to add to the list, or you got something else to say?
No, I just want to shout out Delaware State. I mean, I was a believer full and full. I mean, plus 40. Come on, guys. It's a no-brainer. Your week is 0.
Landon,
40?
football Jesus.
Are you
Hey,
kidding me?
I liked my plus 25
Absolutely.
with
It's
Nevada.
week 0, guys.
It's
don't
too big
know.
of a spread. It's too
Yes.
big.
So week 1,
That being said, if it doesn't rain, they might have covered it.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
no.
forgot to take into account that there's literally a hurricane ripping through Hawaii
Oh,
right now.
jeez.
It's fine. It'll
Okay,
be
so
fine.
week
At least they're not playing at a condemned stadium.
Yeah,
anymore.
winning by 21 in a hurricane is probably the equivalent of almost a 40-point win in regular weather, I would assume. Yeah.
Hey, don't
on
take
turf.
away Delaware State's cover. Don't be
It's a
taking
great
away
pick
from
by
the
you,
boys.
Landon.
Hold
Hey,
on.
you wanna know.
We forgot to address the most important thing here. Did Delaware State make it home yet?
TBD.
Probably not. They're listening to
Let me
this
see if I can find
podcast
out
on
for
the
you,
way
Cam.
home.
They only booked one ways.
For everybody.
I did find some more information on that. Apparently, in the contract, Hawaii also pays for their hotel and travel.
That makes
So,
sense.
Yeah.
there was another thing there. Like
They
no
were paying for
excuses.
them to drive home. That's what they were.
Fair.
They loaded up on the USS,
Hunter, I'll
whatever's out
explain to
there.
you later why that
Okay.
doesn't make sense.
I will say this, though. We are a pro Delaware State podcast. So, Delaware State, if you're listening, we appreciate you and especially Landon for covering that 40 for him to get him on the board. Week 0 picks update. So, I backed New Mexico. They covered, even though they blew a 17-point lead in the fourth quarter, but they covered 10.5, or it was a 12.5. So, we're good there. Hunter's on the board with 1. Zach got on the board with 1. To Nevada covering 25 against SMU. SMU looked really shaky. And then we've already mentioned Landon, Jordan, and Cameron are not on the board because they believed in Florida State. But we're going to move on from football for now for a little bit, and we're going to.
I feel the need, Hunter, real quick, to make sure that there was a comma in between there of Landon was on the board, comma, Jordan and Cameron.
Oh, okay.
It just sounded kind of ran all together there, so I just wanted to point that out.
I don't know if Hunter knows what a comma
They did not
is.
teach that
Probably
in
not.
grammar in Mississippi. So,
But anyway, moving on to what are we talking about? UConn going?
yeah,
to Big 12?
UConn going to the Big 12. Cameron brought this up in the group chat, and I'm going to let him start this off. What have you seen about this since the news story broke about UConn going to the Big 12, Cam?
So back when they were doing the realignment stuff with the newest schools in the Big 12, the Arizona schools in Colorado, there were some rumors back then of like UConn getting added, or also some rumors about Gonzaga getting added. Me and Jordan have talked about this before. I mean, the Big 12 has really just put all their chips into being the best basketball conference, which I think is an interesting strategy. But they've also strengthened themselves as a football conference as well. I think Yormark has done a pretty good job of doing what he can after Texas and Oklahoma have left, because you can't really replace them straight up, right? Yeah. So he's done a good job of adding some solid teams, but a lot of those teams are really good basketball programs as well. Arizona, obviously a blue blood. Colorado puts together a good team. Once every couple years. Seems like every other year, Colorado's got a pretty good team. And then, rumors about Gonzaga, rumors about UConn. As a fan of a school in the Big 12, I wouldn't mind seeing those UConn rumors come true. I think from a basketball perspective, it's a no-brainer. The interesting part with football was the tentative 2031 join date, which I would have to look into what requirements are there for them to join in 2031. I would assume a new football stadium and a certain amount of funding committed towards football at UConn, because I mean, after the Big East imploded, UConn has been nothing, completely irrelevant in football. But they did have some solid teams in the Big East days, 10, 15 years ago. So I think it's possible for them to make a comeback and become relevant again. Obviously not going to be easy, but I think it's, with the state of their basketball team, I think it's worth exploring at least.
I want to jump in. And I watched Big 12 sports for most of my life. Texas, I'm a Texas guy. Texas and Oklahoma leave.
But
Yeah. And I think Cameron hit the nail on the head. Yormark has to do what's best for his conference at that point. Once it's obvious that you're not getting those big brands back, UConn, when it comes to basketball in that conference, UConn is at worst the second biggest basketball brand in that league immediately behind Kansas. But if you can have Kansas, UConn, the teams that Houston's put together, Iowa State usually has a pretty good basketball run, what Texas Tech has had in recent years, what West Virginia is historically, that's a really strong basketball conference. And that's not even looking at what Utah brings to the table in football. That's not looking at, when these conversations started, and we all certainly have our own opinions on Deion, but if you're the Big 12 and you can get Deion Sanders, of course you're going to do that. Why would you not do that? UConn is a premier brand in basketball. It helps them in their biggest sport. It helps them get into a different market. It's a brilliant move for the Big 12 if UConn can make that work. There's a lot of logistics to work out with travel for other sports, but if UConn can do that, as a guy who's not really a Big 12 guy and not really a college basketball guy, that seems like an absolute slam dunk of a move to me.
Yeah, you've got a team that's won 6 men's basketball national championships, and Gino Ariema's won how many women's? Like that is a no-brainer for the Big 12.
And their coach is getting pursued by the LA Lakers in the offseason and turning them down because he wants to stay at UConn.
Yeah. They're going to be the show with Paige Beckers in women's hoops right now. She's going to be the biggest star this year with Caitlin Clark in the WNBA. This is a no-brainer for the Big 12 if they can make it happen. I think football, it's an afterthought, really. Like, you're going to get them for football anyway. They have it. Gonzaga would be a move that I wouldn't be sure the Big 12 would do just because they don't have a football program, So they already play it. It's easy for them to add a team like that to your league because who cares about geography anymore?
Mm-hmm.
Like, go do it. That makes way too much sense. I would absolutely go after UConn as well.
And the point about geography is interesting because I know the attitude is like, oh, we don't care about geography anymore. But I think it's smart what the Big 12 is doing, just trying to go coast to coast. I mean, there's no way that conference realignment's done, right? Like there's constant rumors about the ACC every single day with Clemson and Florida State. So it's very impossible to predict how it's all going to shake out. But I think the ACC is the conference that is in trouble next, and by strengthening themselves, talking about the Big 12 here, by strengthening themselves in the sense that they're moving east, I think that helps them to try and take some of those teams if that time comes.
But if you're not going to get the football money, and let's be honest, the Big 10 and the SEC right now have all of the football money. The Big 12 is saying, we're okay with that. Give us what's next. Every team that is rumored to be going to the Big 12 right now, Gonzaga, Duke, North Carolina, UConn, pretty obvious what they're trying to do. And I think it's a brilliant business model. UConn plays pretty good baseball too, and that's probably their next biggest revenue sport outside of basketball.
I mean, you look at the SEC and you look at somebody that, I think we've had this discussion before of like if the power conferences align, and they start kicking people out, who do you start kicking out? And everybody's like, oh, we're going to kick out Vanderbilt. I don't think so, because I think that you have members of every conference bring something to each table. And obviously, like Jordan just mentioned, like the SEC and the Big Ten might have, superiority when it comes to football, but you have to make sure that when you have athletic departments in your conference, I feel like you have to have something that you can bring to the table in every sport. And you look at Vanderbilt and their baseball program, it's very good and it contributes in the SEC. And I think that this move for UConn, if they make it happen, I mean, I'm with you guys. I mean, that is far and away the best college basketball conference, and that's not even including these rumored moves of Duke and UNC. So I think it's a brilliant move. I mean, I'm all for it.
Here's the other thing to me is we've kind of talked about this offline a little bit, but the Big 12 right now in football, at least, doesn't seem like they have a true premier program the way really Oklahoma has been for them for a long time. In a way, though, isn't that better? Like, you're going to have a lot of parity in your league. You're going to have a lot of fans really interested. You're going to have a lot of players that could be playing for conference titles in different sports. I think with the Big 12, you play the hand that you're dealt. And I think that the Big 12 has pivoted better than maybe anybody else in the country.
And I think to Cameron's point, too, I mean, UConn did have a couple of solid teams back in the Big East days. So who's to say that their move to football in the Big 12, doing it the way that, the proposed article said in 2031, it gives them time to beef it up, get the stadium better, get more funding towards it, and then they build that football program back up to where they're competing every 3 to 4 years. And so, I mean, you never really know what could happen when they join that conference, but I mean, they weren't a power in the Big East, but they weren't a pushover like they have been. So,
I mean, and hey, don't forget the most recent, or one of the more recent teams to win a national title was Baylor in the Big 12. I mean, they won in 2021. You're about to be, if you can get it, if the Big 12 can do it, it not only would have the top tier programs, it'd be the deepest, I think, in college basketball too, which it's already kind of been that, even with Texas and Oklahoma leaving. I mean, it's already been the best basketball league. So why not? Why not go do it? March Madness is not going away. It's as popular as it's ever been.
Yeah. I mean, to Hunter's point, it's been a while, but I mean, yeah, when when UConn was led by Randy Edsall before he went to Maryland, they were solid. I think they won the Big East twice, I want to say, or at least tied for it twice. I think they definitely went to a BCS game because I remember they lost the Fiesta Bowl to Oklahoma in Edsall's last year, and then I think they tied for first in another season. So they were solid, and a lot of times for smaller schools like that, it takes a special coach like Edsall to come in and actually revive a program and bring them back to life. But obviously, no guarantees that would happen. But I think it's if it's guaranteed for UConn and they're able to prepare for it and put money into it, I think it's it's at least optimistic.
Also,
Hunter, I want to draft. Hunter, I
yeah,
want
we'll
to
get
draft.
to the draft in a second, but I got to shout out Jet Johnson, former Mississippi State legend, linebacker, retweeted us the other day on Twitter. He got mic'd up. He is a GA linebackers coach at UConn, and Matt Brock, Mississippi State's defensive coordinator last year, is up at UConn. So we're going to give the football team a little love. But, yeah, UConn is Big 12. If it happens, I think that would be big. But I think now is the time for us to take a break from sports for a little bit.
Well, hold on. One last thing. Jordan, you know who else went to UConn, right? Donald Brown.
George Springer?
Donald Brown.
Donald Brown of Donald Brown fame?
Yeah.
YouTube people, you know what's up.
You're not going to say his whole name, Jordan? Okay.
Nah, not for this
All right.
podcast.
Well,
Damn it, Donald.
yeah, that's the one. All right. So last week we drafted Bluebell ice cream. We're going to modify the draft a little bit. We're going to add Zach because he can actually eat what we're drafting tonight. We're sticking with food. We're going to draft breakfast cereals. Now,
I got to lock in
last
for this.
week I had a preset order.
Hold on, Hunter. What's the difference between a cereal and a breakfast cereal?
God, I don't.
The time of day that
I
you
don't
consume.
know.
I do not discriminate cereal. It
Okay.
can be eaten any time of day, and I would
Any
argue
time of day.
cereal at night is.
We
the best.
talked about, I had a thought about the draft before we got started with the recording. And so I'm going to go ahead and give it to you. With the ice cream, I feel like there's some hits, there's some misses. I feel like with cereal, like as long as you're not putting cardboardos on the board, there's not going to be a lot of bad picks in this draft. I know that I lived with Zach for a few weeks, and the cereal that got devoured in that house
Anything
was a
and
lot. Give me that
anything
draft
and
order, Hunter. Let's do this.
I'm working it right now. Hold on. I got to get I'm trying to work technology. Give me a
No,
second.
Hunter and technology.
The last 3 times I've had cereal has all been at like 10 o'clock.
All right.
So
Landon,
I'll
we
eat
are going to
cereal.
we're going to do a little bit different. We're going to do 4 picks this week instead of 5. And then Landon, write this down and be the keeper again, because you did a good job of that last time, of the order. And hopefully Hunter actually figures out how a draft works this time. This is Revenge Tour is about to start, boys. I did research.
Hunter randomly goes into third person mode.
I can't wait for Hunter's revenge tour to rival that of Florida State's.
Don't put
revenge
me
tour.
there. Don't put me on the no pick list. All right, here we go. Cameron, Zach, Landon, Hunter, and Jordan. That's our draft order. And it's
Okay.
going to be a snake. So I've already forgotten the draft order. Who's first? Cameron?
Well, we're gonna have to
Yeah.
explain to Hunter every time when it's
All right.
his pick.
So
because he
go
has-
ahead, Cameron. Get us started. 1-1. Who you got?
Hold on. Before we start, though, I want to clarify this. If I draft Special K, do I get all the flavors of Special K, or I get original Special K?
No, I think
Okay, I agree with that.
think it's
I agree with that.
per cereal in the box.
Nope, I agree with that. All right, let's do it. Cameron, your world.
Okay. Very predictable pick. Yeah, you just have to do it. It's Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Ah,
Good pick.
classic.
It's a classic, and it's great to snack on without milk. It's great with the milk, and then the milk is all cinnamony, sugary. It's an S tier cereal, so you can't miss.
So just to clarify, Cinnamon Toast Crunch is off the board, or is it still on the board?
To you, who knows in your head? at this
Yeah,
point.
you play by your own rules.
All right. Zach, let's go. Give you the first pick on the podcast for you.
Yeah, it's.
Welcome to the draft, buddy.
I know this is so fun. I had to sit like an idiot last time, so this is great.
I blame you.
All right, it's Captain Crunch with the
Oh,
berries.
damn it.
It's gonna have to be number 2. Cinnamon Toast Crunch is also my number 1. So good job, Cam. You didn't mess that up with the Ryan Leaf pick. So good for you. The crunch. I mean, it's the perfect mixture of everything you want in a cereal. So. And Landon kind of threw this at me earlier. My cereal is consumed with oat milk, so you could do the milk, alternatives. I can't have regular cow milk, but I
Does that change the flavor of your cereal at all?
Not at all. No.
Okay.
And it's literally, it tastes the exact same. It's just really, it's thinner milk. Like it's a lot, it's more like skim milk texture. It's like kind of watery, but the cereal tastes great.
Land in your world.
We can go a classic. Same vein, Zach. Captain Crunch peanut butter.
That's bold.
It is.
Interesting.
I just hate the roof of my mouth personally. Hunter, your world.
Oh, it's to me. Okay.
That is how a draft works.
Just
I think I'm gonna have to take. I think my favorite cereal. I think I'm gonna make that statement. My favorite cereal. We're going Lucky Charms. Lucky Charms. I think the thing that I like the most about Lucky Charms, if you ever had those breakfast cereal bars where it's like they got like this, like it's not white chocolate or whatever it is that holds the bar together. The Lucky Charms cereal bar is fantastic. The cereal itself is fantastic. So we're riding with what's the leprechaun's name? Is it just Lucky? Does anyone know the leprechaun's name? Okay, we're riding with Lucky, so Lucky Charms is off the board for me, and I feel very good about where this draft's heading for me.
It's a much better start for you.
Well, no, I took oatmeal cream pie for Bluebell flavors. That was elite. You're a child. Why don't you pick? Show me what you're picking here.
Hey, you just made a great pick. That was your best pick so far in all of the drafts that we've done. Man,
There's a lot of good ones out there.
There's a lot of good ones out there. I am going to go. I think we're going to make it 3 of the top 5. Roof of our mouth be damned. And I'm just going to go regular old Captain Crunch.
I almost did it. Did it, but I didn't.
But for safety reasons, you can't pick that as early as you guys picked for the roof of your mouth. All right. So round 1, Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Crunch Berries, Captain Crunch Peanut Butter, Lucky Charms, regular Captain Crunch.
Captain Crunch, if you're listening, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, we're big fans.
In round 2, we'll open up here with, I'm going to take Frosted Flakes. Love me some Frosted Flakes.
So
Great
good.
pick.
They're more than good.
They are.
Hunter probably didn't get
I was
that.
waiting for somebody to say great, but no one did.
Okay. Are they still the Little League World Series big sponsor?
I have not seen the random commercial where Tony the Tiger is like throwing batting practice this year, so probably not. Very disappointing. So back to me. I'm going to.
That's how this works.
I'm gonna take this pick, and I'm gonna have to put parameters on it. So I'm gonna take Fruity Pebbles with my next pick.
Yeah,
but here's the thing: is that you got to eat it fast because if they get soggy, they're not great. So you have to.
Now, I mean, they get soggy faster than other cereal, but that is the key with all cereal.
Yeah.
So,
But I think that if you eat Fruity Pebbles fast, then elite. So I'm putting that as my 2. I like that pick at 2, but you just got to eat it fast. So there we go. Very good cereal.
It's fair. We're going to go heart healthy here. We're going to go Honey Nut Cheerios.
You got it.
I mean, I was going to go Frosted Flakes. Jordan, great pick. That was my next one. Next one on the big board, Honey Nut Cheerios.
Yeah.
Listen, Honey Nut Cheerios, of all the Cheerios, Honey Nut Cheerios should be the one that goes off the board first.
100%.
What? Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no other one that needs to go anywhere.
Also, I want to go back to this for 1 second. Hunter, the first 3 bites of Fruity Pebbles stacks up as well as anybody. After that, it's a problem. After that, you're having Fruity Pebbles flavored milk, and that is it.
I mean, that's why I said you got to eat it fast. But I mean, if you're eating it fast, then I mean, elite.
It's elite.
Yep. Zach, it's back to you.
I'm a little surprised this is still here. And it's Fruit Loops. I thought that'd be gone by now. I'm not gonna lie. That was number 3. That's probably my 3rd favorite one, and just the original one. They've got a lot of stuff, alternates that are really good too. But just
I'm going to have some Fruit Loops as soon as we're done with this podcast, actually.
You are.
Hey, Jordan and Cameron, do y'all remember the Fruit Loops gummies that y'all got at Cracker Barrel in Abilene, Texas?
Ooh.
Yeah, I also remember the Fruit Loops Pop-Tarts.
Oh, those were good too. Yes.
Highly underrated.
Y'all did Pop-Tarts. I know you're listening because we tweeted the Pop-Tarts Bowl a lot. When we do the Pop-Tarts draft, that's going to get intense.
Shout
Damn,
out.
you get to go
We're gonna
back
be
to
throwing
back here like
haymakers.
Drake.
We're gonna be throwing haymakers.
Back to back. All right,
Cam's
I
your
get 2
world.
here.
Come on,
A lot of good
Um,
ones still out there for you, Cam.
A lot of good ones.
He's going to take Raisin Bran.
No, they are on my big board though.
I love that you guys are taking the draft serious enough to come up with a big board.
I
by
mean,
the
I
way.
just got absolutely taken out behind the barn last
Right.
week. So
All right,
Listen, hold on, Cam. I may or may not have had to go to Walmart today so that I could look up and down the cereal aisle.
that's dedication.
There's some weird
Oh,
ones.
Landon's
now.
got the Walmart
I
app
will
up
say-
on his phone.
Yep. Commitment,
Attaboy.
baby.
Are we sponsored by Walmart?
Walmart, if you're
Cam.
listening, I live in Arkansas.
I am gonna go with my second pick here. I'm gonna take Honey Smacks.
Elite pick, dude.
Underrated, I think. Not a lot of people talk about
Yeah,
that.
listen, I thought that was going to draft. I thought it was going to fall. I thought I was going to get the steal of the draft. That's a great pick right there, Cam. I love that one.
And then
Oh, yeah, back to back.
yeah, this is gonna. I'm trying to see on my big board what's left. What do I think is gonna make it back to me?
Yeah, it's tough
There's a
now because you
couple-
took Honey Smacks
there's
and
a
that resets
couple-
everything.
There's a couple that I'm confident on, but I don't think this one's gonna make it back to me. I'm gonna go Oops All Berries.
Is that the last of the
Good
Captain
pick.
Crunch?
No,
I
we haven't
believe-
even scratched the surface of the Captain Crunch yet.
Those are the big.
Oh, is it? We knocked
four,
out the
but-
Mount
but
Rushmore
there are
of
more.
Captain Crunch. Okay.
There it is. There it is.
Throwing it back to trivia, are we sure it's Oops All Berries, not just berries? I know
Yeah, I
Just
thought it was
berries.
just berries. I will die on that hill.
It's Oops All Berries. For the
It is
record.
Oops All Berries. Y'all
It's
proved me
Oops.
wrong. I'm sorry.
Do wish that you would have drafted just berries and we would have just kept going and one of us could have ended up with it anyway.
With the real thing. Yeah.
All right. So Cam's
was
got
drafting
kind of a
a
loaded
lot there,
team right
Cam.
now.
Yeah. I thought Cam had a great draft last.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Honey Smacks, Oops All Berries.
Nah.
Good stuff.
Pretty good. It's pretty good.
That's Zach again, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I am rolling with Apple Jacks.
Mm.
You
Attaboy.
dirty dog.
Yeah, I can't not do that. And I know we're on a
The
little
cousin of the
similar-
Fruit Loop.
Yeah, we're on a similar trail here with the Fruit Loops and the Apple Jacks, but you just can't go wrong.
I
It's
gotta
so-
say though, the way the evolution of the mascot, I think they didn't do it right. I think they went backwards.
Agreed.
Oh yeah, they
did
got
the Arizona
rid of the
Diamondbacks.
Jamaican dude,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, the Bob Marley looking guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
they got rid of
Arizona
him.
Diamondbacks. It was dumb. Yeah.
Landone.
I'm gonna throw it back to my childhood, and
So like
we're gonna
2 weeks
go-
ago.
Just Thursday.
Exactly. Exactly. Hey, I'm not the youngest here. Shout out my guy Cam. I'm gonna go with Cocoa Puffs. You know,
Ah,
you get the
that's
chocolate milk afterwards.
Oh, quickly too.
Little
Wait, hold
shout
on,
out to
Landon.
the world famous bean there, huh?
Let's go back to this. When's your birthday?
May 98.
Maytember.
Oh, so you got me beat by like 2 weeks.
The
Yes,
32nd.
Okay, Hunter.
Landon, Captain Crunch, peanut butter, honey nut Cheerios, Cocoa Puffs.
Appreciate that. I appreciate
I
that.
think I'm gonna.
That's also rude, but
I think I'm gonna piggyback off of Landon here for my next one.
Oh,
I'm going Reese's Puffs. We get the chocolate. We get the peanut butter. Yeah.
I'm surprised that.
Yeah,
fell
I am
that
surprised because it
low.
was high on my big board, and I'm surprised it fell. And I was like, if it's there, I'm gonna take it, and that's what I just did. And I'm revenge tour is happening right now. I love my squad.
all right. In the spirit of best player available, since Cameron took Honey Smacks off the board, I'm gonna go Golden Crisp.
nice.
I thought you were going to say Golden Grams.
No, no, no.
I'm glad you said. I'm glad you didn't.
Golden Crisp is like kind of similar, I think, to Honey Smacks.
Mm.
Yeah.
Not as cool of a mascot, and they don't ever change the back of their box, but whatever. And I have another one here to kick off round 4.
Our
Final
final
pick.
round.
Well, this is the final round. We don't have.
Yeah,
another
I was
round
gonna say
time.
let Landon recap all of the
Oh.
picks, and then we'll go into our final round
Yeah,
here.
Landon, go ahead.
All right. All right.
All right, starting at number 1, we got Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Captain Crunch Berries, Captain Crunch Peanut Butter, Lucky Charms, rounding out round 1, Captain Crunch Original, or just
Three in the
regular
top
Captain
5.
Crunch, whichever one you like. Round 2, Frosted Flakes, Fruity Pebbles, Honey Nut Cheerios, Fruit Loops, and Honey Smacks. Starting out round 3, Oops All Berries, Apple Jacks, Cocoa Puffs, Reese's Puffs, and Golden Crisps.
Let me recap my team here: Captain Crunch, Frosted Flakes, Golden Crisp.
Solid team.
Man, I definitely forgot we were only doing 4 rounds. I thought I had one more pick here.
You're welcome.
I'm probably bigger on this one than most people, but I don't know if it's coming back. So I guess I'm gonna go ahead and take Honeycomb.
That's
Love
Cat's
honeycomb.
favorite cereal.
Love
Really
Honeycomb.
good.
Pretty satisfied with that.
I'm
team.
not a fan of it, but I mean it's a good it's a good cereal.
You're not a fan of it, but it's
Yeah.
good.
I mean, it's like I'm not gonna go and make a bowl of it, but like I've had like a bite or two, and like it's a good cereal, but I'm not gonna go buy Honeycomb.
So it's like Ole Miss. You're not a fan, but they're really good.
Twist the
Listen,
knife in a little
I
deeper,
said my
Cam.
piece about them last week. I'm ignoring them in Oxford, and we're just gonna deal with that problem when it arises late in December. Okay.
It's your pick.
It is. And so I'm going off the wall here for my last pick. And I got to do this.
And
I got to do
Honeycomb.
this for my daughter. She eats this at daycare all the time. And I don't even know if you guys maybe have had this. It just came back, I think. Waffle Crisp.
I had Waffle Crisp on the
Yeah,
big board,
Waffle
dude.
Crisp.
You're gonna ask if I've had.
Well, I didn't know.
Waffle
Like it
Crisp?
used to. I think it went away for a while and then like came back a couple years
Yeah,
ago.
It was just
So like I haven't had it in a while, and then it came back because I found out that my daughter's daycare was giving it to her as a snack, and she like tears it up. She loves it. So Waffle Crisp, I think it's a great add to the squad. Great cereal.
good pick.
Who's next? Landon?
Solid team.
Mhm.
Solid team. I was gonna go the original of this particular cereal, but then I remembered as I was scrolling through Walmart here
I know what you're
that
about
they
to
had
do.
a chocolate version of it. It's Cocoa Rice Krispies. Again, you get the chocolate milk afterwards,
Yeah,
and it's so versatile, guys.
Are you just a big
Cocoa
chocolate
Rice
milk
Krispies.
guy? Is that what it is?
it's
Yeah.
less versatile than the original, though.
Much less versatile.
Less versatile. Not disagreeing.
I have a question for you, Landon.
Huh.
If you got Cocoa Crisp or Cocoa Puff, sorry, and Cocoa Crisp, are you just a guy that would pour chocolate milk into the chocolate cereal, or do you do the white milk and let it turn into chocolate milk?
Correct.
First
That's
of
the
all,
best way
white
to do it.
milk.
What did I say?
I mean, you just said white milk. It's just regular milk.
Hunter, do me a favor and ask your wife what flavor white milk is.
I don't know.
At the lake this year, she told us it was vanilla.
That's a
That-
bad.
that
That's
is-
so
that
bad.
is
She
accurate.
said that. I didn't know that.
That did
You
happen.
ever had vanilla
Yeah.
milk? It's
Oh
not good.
gosh, this is going.
That was when
It's
Landon.
all-
coffee creamer.
That was when Landon told me that your child didn't. Have
Oh,
a
all
chance.
37 of our listeners are going to be very, very shocked at how bad of a take that was from my wife. That's so bad.
Cat, we love you. It was just, you had a few that day already, so I understand.
Yeah, but they do make vanilla
do.
milk. So
Yeah, and it's
do.
not regular
They do.
milk.
Yeah.
There is a
Nope.
difference.
it is different.
Zach, you're up, guy.
All right,
Yeah,
Zachy.
I'm torn between a couple here, boys. If I'm gonna be honest,
There's some really good picks left out there, man. We really should have done 5 rounds for this one.
yeah, I feel like I haven't done much with anything chocolate in my team here, so
You should.
I think I'm gonna add me some Cookie Crisp.
Mm.
I wasn't going to do it.
Cookie Crisp.
I really like Cookie Crisp, so I'll do it. It's not one I have often, but when I have it, boy, it hits perfectly.
That was on the big board as well.
Cameron, take us home.
I'll tell you what I was torn between if this doesn't get drafted.
Okay, so I have my final pick, but there are, let's see, there are 6 other cereals that I wanted to shout out.
Yeah, I have a lot on my
At
board that haven't been
least.
taken.
I have 6 on my big board right now that did not get picked, and I want to shout those out before I give you my pick. Want to
On
shout out
Cam's attention sketch.
Raisin Bran.
Trash.
Are we sure he's the
I-
youngest person on the
I
podcast?
cannot stand Raisin Bran.
Raisin Bran is really good. I can understand, but I can understand not liking it.
Yeah, it's only
Um,
good with vanilla milk.
Cocoa Pebbles.
Very good.
I also had Crave on this list. Crave is really good.
Crave is underrated.
Frosted Mini Wheats
Mm.
didn't get picked, and then two variations of Cheerios that didn't
Yep.
get picked: apple cinnamon and
So good.
chocolate. Chocolate Cheerios didn't get picked either.
The
My
frosted
pick-
ones. There's so many good Cheerios.
Yeah,
So good.
frosted.
Except regular Cheerios. They're the worst ones.
Those are just terrible.
Cheerios. That's
Well,
baby
Jordan,
food.
According to you, they're the building block of everything. It's just, it's like vanilla.
Well, they
Not
were,
with cereal.
Well, yeah, they were for my 1-year-old because he up until he was 1, you can't have honey, so I couldn't give him the good Cheerios.
Yeah, and
so,
when I have bad cholesterol in 30 years, they'll be wonderful.
yeah. ugh.
True.
Gotta throw some strawberries.
Ah.
on
All right,
top.
Cam.
Cam,
All right,
the
Cam,
last
what you
pick
got?
of the draft.
All right, so
Mr. Irrelevant.
this is Mr. Irrelevant, and it's actually a very fitting pick for Mr. Irrelevant. Gets forgotten a lot. I'm interested to see your guys' opinion on this, but it's a nostalgic cereal for me. My grandma always had it at her house. We're going with Pops,
Corn Pops?
Ooh, elite pick.
not Corn Pops. Pops.
Elite pick.
Oh, I see. That's a wonderful last pick.
Unreal.
That's better than 3 of Landon's picks.
Mm. If you like chocolate, you're on Landon's team. That's what I've gathered
doubt.
here.
Just for that, I'm not going to read them all. Somebody else has to now.
Well, they're in the chat, so one of us could. But
Well, I quit keeping track because you were keeping track.
my last option here was Trix,
Mhm.
or was that already picked? No, it wasn't. Right?
Trix is available.
Yeah, Trix was up there for me. But I already had kind of like the
I-
fruitier flavored ones already. So.
I have a question, mostly for Hunter, because I think he's the only one that might remember some of these. Zach, you might. Do you remember they made Pop Tart Crunch? It was little chopped
Oh,
up pieces
it
of
came in a
Pop-Tart
white
that
box,
They had
didn't
a
it?
cereal.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
Because they did the chocolate and I think they did strawberry. Okay,
Yes.
I'm with you now.
Yes.
I'm with you now.
And I think maybe a brown
Those are the
sugar
only
one.
2 flavors, yeah.
And then the Reptar Crunch from the Rugrats.
Yeah, that was good. That was really, really good.
Listen, 7-year-old Jordan used to put down some Reptar Crunch.
Did you ever see Wendy's came out with their Frosty ones?
Oh, I would do
Yes.
that.
I
That would
haven't
go
had
great
it.
with your
So
chocolate
good.
cereals, Landon.
Oh,
so
also another one that I just saw the other day was Crumble. Crumble Cookie came out with a
Oh
cereal.
no.
I did
Which
see that.
flavor are we
What
going with?
flavor? They
Yeah,
have a
like-
I
billion.
think it's just like a. I think it's like a Cookie
sugar
Crisp
cookie?
almost, or
Just
something
like
like
we should
that.
do a
but-
crumble
Probably.
cookie draft.
I
at
know
some
we've
point.
joked about sponsors on this podcast, but there are 2 that I will never joke about. And that is Buc-ee's and Crumble. If we could ever get sponsored by those 2 companies, then we will have made it in life.
I
Coming
do think,
from the
I do
guy-
think Dr. Pepper's up there.
Oh,
as
that's
well.
fair.
Coming from the guy that went to Freddy's instead of Buc-ee's on his way out of Texas whenever he moved out.
Valid point.
Just
I
throwing it
knew
out
that
there.
I was going to
Just throwing
pass
it out
more Buc-ee's in my
Right.
life than Freddy's, and now I live in a city with a Freddy's.
Landon said he's not recapping, so let me fly through this real fast. Cameron got
One must have
cinnamon
had
toast,
about 15 Dr. Peppers.
cinnamon toast crunch, honey smacks, oops all berries, and pops. Pretty good squad for Cam. Let's see here. Zach got Captain Crunch berries, Fruit Loops, Apple Jacks, and Cookie Crisp, cornering the market on all of the rounded cereals.
Yeah, big fan. Big fan.
Landon went Captain Crunch peanut butter, Honey Nut Cheerios, Cocoa Puffs, and Cocoa Rice Krispies because he has the taste buds of a 7-year-old.
Cocoa Rice Krispies over just straight up Cocoa Pebbles.
It was a game time decision.
Hunter took Lucky Charms, Fruity Pebbles, Reese's Puffs, and Waffle Crisp. You did bounce back. That's a much better draft for you.
Whoa,
Revenge
much
tour.
better. Yeah.
Guys,
And
here's the
I
best
ended
part
up
about this.
with Captain Crunch, Frosted Flakes, Golden Crisp, and Honeycomb.
The best part about this is there is on Spotify, there's a poll. And so we're going to put it out to all of our listeners, all 7 of them, to see who has the best list. So
All
if you're
listeners.
on Spotify, you can vote.
I want to throw this out there since nobody talked about it. Has anybody had the Cheerios Oat Crunch stuff?
Good.
The cinnamon one, is the official cereal of heaven.
Yeah. It's
That
elite.
stuff's unreal.
It's so niche that I didn't think to put it out there in the draft, but it's so good.
I had it 18 on the big board.
Say on my big board, I don't know if y'all remember this because I don't know if they might still make it, but Hershey's came out with a cookies and cream cereal. I almost took that just to piss Jordan off for my bad cookies and cream pick last week.
You want to make
But
bad teams, you
I
make bad teams.
didn't do it and redeem myself. So Landon, he plugged it, but I like the idea of throwing that to a poll so the listeners can vote. We didn't do a graphic for the ice cream one. I'm going to work on doing a graphic for the cereal one. That was a great draft, guys.
That was a great draft.
We can still do a graphic for the cereal one too, or
100%.
the ice cream one too. I do want to shout out Marshmallow Fruit Loops for my wife. That's her favorite cereal.
Right.
It did not get drafted, but it's phenomenal.
Notice how he didn't draft it, Hunter.
No, this isn't her list. This is my list. And also, I have to shout out how she eats it. She does not put milk in her cereal. She eats all her cereal dry. So
I respect
She
that.
also
choice.
doesn't use the box for puzzles.
yeah, no,
so.
she doesn't like vanilla milk. So
I would like to point out very quickly that last week at the flip of round 1 and round 2, we went from oatmeal cream pie to cookies and cream, and this week we went from Captain Crunch to Frosted Flakes. Really, we upgraded all the way around here.
It's almost like everybody
also
took this seriously.
Also you on the
credit
flip,
'cause I'm in
Jordan.
this draft.
All right. That was
I
fun.
do feel
That was a
like
good one.
Hunter and I switched places though. I had the worst.
Yeah.
list, and Hunter moved.
Yeah, you're picking early next time, bud.
You know, it's all right. It's okay.
I
didn't
think
prepare,
here's an
so-
idea. I think we should do the poll. Like whoever wins the
for
poll.
draft order.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Now you're talking.
That's
now we
good.
get the audience.
There we
involved.
go. I
All
like
7.
that. But we
right.
can't vote ourselves because then we're just gonna like all 5 of us can't
Tell
vote.
your wives to go vote.
So
Here's
Dang
the
it,
problem.
Jordan.
Here's the problem. My wife would vote.
that's
for
probably
one of y'all.
true.
Of course she
My
would.
wife definitely
Yeah.
is not
Do you
voting
not
for
remember
me.
Survivor?
You all know her. That's her.
Landon, who would your wife vote
Don't
for?
go.
Ooh. All right.
All right, so
Let's move on.
there's our
Forfeit
segue
turkeys.
from sports into cereal. You can catch us on Spotify, Apple Music, Pressbox After Dark. Check out the poll on Spotify and vote for who you think had the best squad of 4 cereals. But let's move back into sports and a story that came out last week, but there might be some controversy going into the Olympics in 2028 for the USA. We're adding flag football to the Olympics, and a lot of people have discussed who is going to represent the USA, and the USA flag football quarterback has come out and he has said that he is better than Patrick Mahomes from a game IQ standpoint and thinks that the NFL players should not. And who wants to go ahead and rip apart this guy?
I do.
Just a wild
Please
take,
let
Jordan.
me go
Go
first.
ahead, Jordan.
Okay. So I was so close to being prepared to give this guy the benefit of the doubt until videos surfaced of him throwing a football. Patrick Mahomes, behind his back left-handed, is better than that. If you let Tom Brady and Tyreek Hill learn the rules of Olympic flag football, America's winning the gold. I would assume we probably were anyway. I don't know if there's like a mercy rule, but if like you actually let the best players in the NFL, or sometimes the backups in the NFL, go compete at that level, it's going to be game over really, really fast. To say you're better than Patrick Mahomes at throwing a football because Patrick Mahomes doesn't understand the rules of flag football is pretty outlandish to even consider. But to say that publicly, my man, what are you doing? Trey Lance has
Now,
had a better week than you have.
Here's the thing. I'm gonna back him up a little bit and just give the other side of this. I don't think he ever said that he was a better thrower than Mahomes, because that would be outlandish. I think what he said, and if someone has the actual quote, feel free to correct me, but I think it was, he was talking about IQ with the game, which again, Pat Mahomes can learn the game of flag football. I'm not.
Yeah, he
arguing
probably
with him on
played it his
that.
junior year of high school just for fun.
But what I will say is that having watched this guy's highlights, yeah, he's got a funky motion and everything, but like he can throw the ball really far, and also he's an incredible athlete.
I'll give
And
him
so
that.
I have no problem with him, standing up for himself. But what I will say is it came out of nowhere. There was no reason for him to call out Pat Mahomes. Like
Pat Mahomes
like-
is just catching strays, dude.
like there was no reason for that. But I will say, like, from looking at some of the videos on Twitter, like, he's an unreal athlete, and I'm assuming he's going to be the guy for the Olympics in 4 years, and I have no problem with that. I mean, he looks
If
like
they don't
he's
let NFL
incredible,
guys play, right?
which I imagine they wouldn't. If they're not going to let national teams compete in soccer, then I doubt they're going to let them play
But
flag
they let
football.
NBA players play. They're going to let MLB players play when they put baseball back in.
I've got the quote, guys. So he said, and I quote, "At the end of the day, I feel like I'm better than Patrick Mahomes because of my IQ of the game."
This is Daryl Doucette. Isn't that how you
It's
say his
still
name?
football,
Daryl
guys.
Doucette.
Yeah,
Sure.
it's still football.
You don't
It's-
ever have to say his name.
Okay.
There's
So
not
Jordan,
much difference.
Jordan, to answer your question a little bit on why guys don't play in basketball, they're not in season. Like in soccer, for example, like they were just coming off of the Euro Championships. It's during when the World Cup is, so like, or not the World Cup. Sorry, there was another big tournament. Anyway, soccer's in season, which is why I think they don't do national teams at the Olympics. But like football, NFL guys would be getting ready for the season right now for preseason stuff. So I don't know if they're going to let NFL guys play or not. We'll see.
Listen, basketball did this too. They didn't let professionals play, and then when they did, it completely changed everything for everybody, especially the USA.
Yeah.
If you let the best athletes in the country play a sport that's predominantly American, I mean, this isn't even a conversation at that point.
I'll add
Tyreek Hill gets in that on that field, nobody's touching him.
Well, and here's the other thing: isn't the Pro Bowl a flag football game now? Like they do play, they do know how to play flag
Yeah,
football.
and many times the best players aren't even the guys that go to the Pro Bowl
yeah,
anymore.
Mahomes hasn't been to a Pro Bowl. 'cause
It's
he's
the
been ready for
6th or
the Super Bowl.
7th or 8th best guy at each position.
Just Jared.
Mahomes is always getting ready for the Super Bowl, so he's never in that.
I mean,
You can
guy
give
going-
me any quarterback
of-
in the league over Daryl McShotput or whatever his name is.
There's lots of Cowboys in the Pro Bowl because they don't have to worry about postseasons.
Well, that
Hmm.
don't Landon.
I'll say this about him. I mean, the highlights are pretty good. I mean, I will say one thing too, that he's tiny and he is really athletic, and I do think that might actually be a little bit better than a massive human being at quarterback, because I mean it's a little bit more shifty of a guy. But you also could look at somebody that's tiny like a Kyler Murray, I mean, there's options out there for the NFL guys. I think it was a bold statement for him to make, just unprovoked. Now, if it comes down to it and they have to make a decision, do we go with the USA flag football guys or do we go with the NFL guys? And then he wants to speak up. That's fine. But, I mean, we got 4 years until we have to make a decision on this as a country.
I do appreciate, though, the idea of his confidence in the idea that, we were the guys that got this sport to the Olympics. We should be the ones to benefit from that. I support that idea.
100%.
But Mahomes catching strays for no reason at all. Yeah. Like, I just... Man, leave Patty touchdown out of this, dude.
We haven't gotten a response from Patrick Mahomes, but he did quote tweet it on Twitter with a kind of like a why did I get that stray there sort of gif. So
let's not throw strays at the dude who's going into his 8th year, 7th year as a starter, and he's already got 3 Super Bowl rings.
Yeah, and we saw what Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill did to NFL players, by the way.
I don't know. Well, I mean, I just thought we had to talk about it because it was too wild of a story not to talk about amongst us, because I know a lot of us had different opinions on it. But good luck to that guy. I wish we all had his confidence in life. But let's shift forward back to college football. Week 0, we've already touched on it. But week 1 is fastly approaching. Starts Thursday. And obviously all of us have our allegiances to our teams. But let's go around and not talk about our teams. And let's talk about another game that you're looking forward to the most that isn't yours. So does anybody want to kick us off with one?
I didn't realize it couldn't be ours.
Okay, well, Landon's gonna sit this one out. I can start us off if y'all don't have one.
Go for it, Hunter.
I think that my most intriguing game in week 1 has to be Miami and Florida in the Swamp at like 2:30 in the afternoon. That game is going to mean a lot for a lot of reasons. And I think the biggest reasons that are out there is that there are going to be opinions on both of those head coaches based on the outcome of this game that are going to be talked about all season long, because the loser of this game is immediately on the hottest seat in the country, because you have Mario Cristobal, who has kind of underperformed since he got to Miami. And then you have Billy Napier, who has not done well at Florida. And a lot of people are already ready to see him leave. And the more I looked into this game in the preseason, the more I am starting to regret thinking that Miami is going to win this game. I do think that Miami is going to win, but I think that Florida is a lot better than what I'm giving them credit for. And I think that this game is going to be must-watch television, because it means so much to both teams, because if Miami wins, it could catapult them into having the season that they need to have to keep Mario there and to bring Miami back. And if Florida wins, then they get to shut a lot of people up, because there's a lot of people, myself included, that think they're going 3-9 and think that Billy Napier is gone. But the more I look into Florida, the more I'm surprised about what they have coming back, what Graham Mertz did last year. And I really think that Florida might be able to pull this off. But that's the game I'm looking forward to the most.
I think there's kind of an obvious one with the Notre Dame A&M, just the couple of ranked game. There's not a lot of games that feature multiple ranked teams. So I think that's super fascinating, just with it being at Kyle Field. Notre Dame historically struggles when they have to go somewhere else in a big game. And this game is really kind of random. I think Oregon ranked number 3 in the country is intriguing to me with their first year in the Big Ten. I would easily put them as somebody who could win that conference. Them and Ohio State kind of would seem to be the top 2, I think, kind of outlook. I know Hunter and I will go through the Big Ten here coming up here in a little bit, but I really like Oregon this year. And I liked them last year, and obviously their only losses were Washington, who ended up, playing for a national championship. So, but I'm intrigued by Oregon. I know they're playing Idaho, so it's kind of whatever. But, that's Saturday night alongside the Notre Dame A&M game. So nobody's going to have Big Ten Network on. I don't think it'll be all ABC, but I'm excited to watch Oregon this year. So we'll see. I think they'll start obviously with a pretty easy win.
Cameron, you got one?
Yeah, I have one that's a little out of left field a little bit. I was looking at the slate this week, and obviously you have Clemson, Georgia, and I just decided to stay clear of that one because that's an obvious one. I'm looking at Oklahoma State versus South Dakota State in week 1.
Just looking at that.
And it's FBS, FCS, and it's on paper, it's really, really good Oklahoma State squad. But you have the interesting story with Ollie Gordon this offseason with the DUI charges and all of that and all the controversy that came after that with Mike Gundy. And then on top of that, South Dakota State's year in, year out, one of the best teams at the FCS level.
Yeah, that's not an ordinary FCS.
Yeah, certainly capable of coming in and giving Oklahoma State all they can handle. Also, you add in the fact that Oklahoma State has traditionally struggled big time against teams, particularly non-conference early in the season. Just last year, they got destroyed by South Alabama, and that was a season where Oklahoma State dominated in the Big 12. 3 years ago, in 21, they nearly lost to Missouri State, another FCS. They almost lost to Tulsa, and they almost lost to Boise State. 3 back-to-back games that year that they almost lost, and I just don't know what it is with Oklahoma State early on in the season. They also had that crazy Hail Mary game that they lost to Central Michigan. That was maybe 6 or 7 years ago now. So I'm just looking at this game like, how is Oklahoma State going to respond with all the offseason stuff that happened? And are they going to be able to handle South Dakota State like they, on paper, how they should?
I got one I think is a little bit under the radar for most people. And this one's interesting to me for a couple of reasons. I am paying attention to Fresno State at Michigan, and I'll tell you why. First of all, Michigan and my Texas Longhorns square off in week 2. So I think Michigan is going to regress a little bit, maybe a lot. They lost a lot, certainly at the top with Harbaugh and McCarthy. But Fresno State has a new coach. Their last 2 coaches, one of them is Kalen DeBoer, who is now at Alabama, and one of them is Jeff Tedford, who put guys like Aaron Rodgers and Deshaun Jackson in the NFL. So, my 5 years in Fresno make this maybe a little bit of a biased pick, but I think I'm a closet Bulldogs fan. So I think that because what I think Michigan's going to be, or rather what Michigan is not going to be again, I think that Fresno State could make week 1 interesting in Ann Arbor.
The line is really high. It's 21.5 right now. That's got Superdog written all over it because I like Fresno State to go in there and keep it close. Alex Orji, projected starting quarterback for Michigan. I learned this yesterday. He has thrown 1 pass in his Michigan career so far.
They've lost a lot.
So Michigan is going to run, and they're going to run, and they're going to run again. So they are going to run the ball, Brett Key.
Hunter, I got mine.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I like that pick by Jordan, though.
Yeah. I'm going to go another FCS, FBS matchup. It's going to be Tarleton State and Baylor, mainly because I'm curious if Tarleton State, they showed some weakness with basically they should have lost versus McNeese. McNeese flubbed it. They should have lost. So I'm just curious on that because it's going to show ACU's conference is going to look like. There's a lot of question marks out there about Baylor as well of what they're bringing to the table this year in the Big 12. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Maybe not interesting to anybody. But
no, Tarleton, one of those teams to me, just because of our time working at the FCS level. Tarleton's one of those teams to me that every year it feels like they could have 9 wins or they could have 2 wins. Like it feels like they have the resources to put together a really good season every so often.
They've had,
and they gave Texas Tech a game 2 years ago.
They moved up to FCS in 2020.
This is their first full-fledged year.
They have.
I think they're a program on the up. I like that pick, Landon.
I do too. I think they are a team that can go in and score 20 points at Baylor. They will score 24 points.
That's a respectable game for an FCS school at a Big 12 school.
I also like how
and it's an easy drive.
Yeah, well, I mean, we talked about the Tarleton side, but I mean Baylor. If anybody needs a big season, it's Dave Aranda because last year they were terrible, but they brought in a guy that I'm really high on. That's Daquan Finn. He was at Toledo for the last 3 years. I think he was a MAC Offensive Player of the Year in 21 and 22 or 22, 23. Really good dual threat guy. I'm really interested to see what they do with him because Aranda needs a bounce back season and he needs it bad. Baylor was also a team that was just absolutely wrecked with injuries last year. So that's a good pick, Landon. I think about that game.
Do you guys remember when Dave Aranda was like the hottest name in coaching his first year at Baylor?
Did he win the Big 12 his
Yeah.
first year, or was it second year?
They have fizzled in a hurry.
He needs to bounce back really, really bad. But I mean,
What's the spread on that game? Is that
no,
out
it's
yet?
not. None of the
No,
FCS,
not out
FBS spreads are out yet.
Oh, I guess
But
that's
out-
true. Full week
Except
out.
for South Dakota State and Oklahoma State. That's at 9.5 Oklahoma State, which is very interesting.
Oof.
Yeah.
I'm trying
There's
to.
a lot of-
Yeah.
A lot of respect for the FCS juggernaut there. from
Them
the
and
veterans,
South
really.
Dakota State, North Dakota State. You kind of have to do that. They're
Absolutely.
too
I think-
polished.
They've earned
They've
that.
earned
They've
earned
earned
that.
that.
Do you think
100%.
the question mark of Ollie Gordon being eligible to play is also factoring into that line? Because I mean, is it official? Is he out for that game or not?
I don't think he's
Oh,
out
he's
at all.
not.
In fact, if
think
I
he-
remember correctly, Mike Gundy said he was going to punish him by handing him the ball 50 times in week 1.
Ooh.
I definitely don't think he's
Exactly what
suspended.
he said.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't think he's suspended at all, which is, I mean, the whole concept of it is just baffling to me. He's not even 21, you know, like it's one thing to get a DUI, but you're not even 21 to begin with. So like why do you,
How does he
even if
not
you-
get suspended?
even if you weren't drinking, like why do you have alcohol in your car if you're 19? Now,
So,
okay. Now,
to review,
now
it's
look,
not illegal
he-
to play college football. It's just illegal in general.
Yeah.
Correct.
Now look, a college student is a college student. We're not going to be naive and say those things don't happen. But I mean, you get caught, you get a DUI, you got to get punished, and he didn't
Have
get
to.
punished at all.
Have
and I
to.
think that's embarrassing.
I do too.
Athletes are different. They just they don't get penalized.
I
for
think
it.
another thing that is factoring into this, at least in my head, is NIL money, because Ollie Gordon's probably got a pretty cushion deal, and the fact that he is the star running back on their team and a big piece of a team that's looking to compete for the Big 12. I know it's still South Dakota State, but your season's on the line every single week. We already talked about how Florida State's probably going to miss the playoff now because they lost to Georgia Tech. If there are boosters that are paying this kid to play football at Oklahoma State with NIL deals, they are probably going to say, hey, listen, I know he broke the law, but we got to do something because we need Ollie Gordon to carry the ball 50 times to beat South Dakota State.
It's a business,
business.
now.
It's a business,
It's an absolute business.
and it sucks. I mean,
While we're on college
hey,
football
that's-
for a moment, I have another idea, and we can throw this into the next episode if we want. But these just came to me. I think all 5 of us should predict before week 1 starts a college football playoff and maybe a Heisman winner.
Think
Definitely.
well, so our next podcast will release after week 2.
Okay, so maybe we just throw it out on Twitter
Okay,
for
we
now.
can throw that out on Twitter, and we can definitely talk about that as the season goes on. Because I definitely want to look into it because there's a couple teams that I'm favoring. I like Georgia, I like Texas, I like Oregon. I mean, if Ole Miss can punch you in the mouth and get up 14 and you play from behind, Ole Miss is hard to beat. And so that's a team that's a sneaky outside team. I really am interested. I'm sorry, Cameron, to talk good about them because it's week 1 and you play them. But Penn State, new offensive coordinator, they got the guy from Kansas that worked with Lance Leipold to turn them into a juggernaut. So I'm really interested to see if Drew Aller is actually good or if he's not good. So Penn State's an outside team. Obviously, if I didn't mention Ohio State, they have the best roster in college football. There's a lot of teams that can win it. This is a very exciting season. I was kind of anti-12-team playoff at first, but now I'm like, this is going to be incredible. Appointment viewing TV.
I was too, but last year was the perfect season to make the switch. You legitimately had 8 or 9 teams that could make a case for a 4-team playoff last year. I still think Oregon, top to bottom, was the best team in the country last year.
Now, see,
They just ran into the Washington buzzsaw, but anything could happen in a playoff. And now I'm looking at it going, man, I get 3 or 4 more playoff games. This is wonderful for the sport.
I've been asking for it for years, and if you're gonna leave out an undefeated team, like it's time. You got too many good teams,
And not
You
an
need
undefeated
more.
Boise
Come on.
State team, not an undefeated
No,
non-con
Florida
team.
State.
An
And-
undefeated team in a conference with Clemson in it, with Miami in
And
it.
I am not mad at Florida State fans for being mad. Like, yeah, I would have been mad too if that was my undefeated team that didn't go. You know what I mean? Like they had every right. to be
Absolutely,
upset.
absolutely.
So yeah, let's do this. 12 is going to be awesome. Like it's just more. Give me more. It's more
Yep.
football. Who's upset about
And,
that?
and for me, like if they expanded the NFL playoffs, that wouldn't do a lot for me. Expanding the
And they
college
did,
football
and they
playoff
did a
is
good job.
phenomenal.
They added one on each side,
Right.
and I thought the NFL did that smartly.
Right. But to
If
me,
the NFL's
I'm
going
a
to half
college
the
football
league,
guy through and through. That's great. Let's do it.
yeah, you got too many teams to
So
only do 4.
let's do this. So on Twitter, you can find us on Twitter at PressBoxAD. Let's do this by Thursday as the group. Let's text it in our group chat. Let's pick an SEC champ, a Big 12 champ, a ACC champ. Who am I leaving out? The Big 10? Yeah, the Power 4. Let's pick the Power 4 champs, and then let's pick the national champion.
You don't want a Pac-2 champ?
You don't want to just do. We could just put our 12 in.
Oh, okay. We could do that as well because that would be I like that as well because I mean we really have touched on the FCS more than the Group of 5. There's a lot of Group of 5 teams that are scary good. Scary good.
Boise
I mean, I'm looking at Boise State's going to be good. Liberty's going to be good. Memphis is going to be good. App State, JMU. There are
a lot of people think Liberty or App State is a playoff team that might can win.
Yeah, I mean, there are some good teams at the Group of 5 level this year as well. So, I mean, I had the best time on Saturday, and I was getting hyped for New Mexico and Montana State. So bring me all the college football this weekend. Bring me all of it all weekend. We didn't even talk about USC and LSU on Sunday night.
Incredible matchup. Listen, Lincoln Riley ain't gonna stay down forever.
Yeah, I mean,
what I know about Lincoln Riley is Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, Caleb Williams. He might win 5 games, he might win 13, but you're gonna watch.
Yeah, and they're not gonna stop anybody.
No,
So
no.
Iowa
gonna be
may
great.
score on them. Oh, wait,
They did bring in a new defensive coordinator, but it is off the top of my head. They did finally get rid of Alex Grinch, who was his running mate for a while and got criticized a lot for bringing him to USC. So they did finally replace him. I don't know who it is off the top of my head, so I'm sorry for all the USC fans that are listening to us. None of them. But yeah, it's a big game. I mean, that's a huge game. And then I just looked at the line for the Monday night game. Florida State's a 17-point favorite over Boston College right now.
Nope, never
They're
again.
on the no pick list. Are you sure? Are you sure?
They're on the.
Come on, Jordan.
You want to pick them? You go ahead. I ain't making that mistake.
I
twice.
might. Listen, out of all the record graphics that we put out, the one that got the most traction was randomly Boston College. We had a couple of fans follow us and like us, so I might pick the Eagles to cover that 17 because I might have some faith in Bill O'Brien in year 1.
Listen, one of two
Not
things
right.
is going to happen. Boston College is going to cover, and it's going to be a tight game, or Florida State is going to be so pissed off that they're going to steamboat them.
There's
by
no in
60.
between. I agree with that 100%.
Weekly.
All right, well
Let's hang some banners.
let's hang some banners and let's wrap up episode 2. I think we're somewhat on pace for being under 2 hours. I think this week maybe.
Well, since we were talking about records, I'm going to go with a really good one. Trey.
Oh, we're going straight into hang the
He
banner.
He set a really good record for a hang. We'll hang the banner for 5 interceptions against the Los Angeles Chargers. Can we talk about this real? I won't go too long here, but Trey Lance at North Dakota State played 16 games in 2019. 2020, he played like a game in the fall, and then they moved the season to 21 because of COVID and the FCS, right? And he opted out of that because he wanted to go to the draft, and the 49ers took the bait, traded up to number 3 to get him in 21. He was going to be the starter in 22 over Jimmy Garoppolo, who had just made the NFC Championship game the year before and the Super Bowl a couple years before that. Trey Lance gets hurt. Then they stumble into Brock Purdy. They trade Trey Lance to Dallas last year. He was a healthy scratch all year as the third dude and just threw 5 picks in a game against
A preseason game.
In a preseason game. What'd you say it was, Jordan? First time since when? Brutal. Cam doesn't even remember that year.
Yeah.
Good point. 3 people on this podcast
Yeah,
weren't born.
All I have to say
I
to
was
that,
born.
Zach, is get Ben DiNucci on the phone right away.
Danucci.
I would like
Here's
to
the
point
thing,
out, though, I'm
yeah,
looking this up. Trey Lance has a career total earnings of $34 million to throw 5 picks in a preseason
bro,
game
he
for
got
his second
paid.
team.
He got paid.
I just don't understand the 19 career games played at an FCS school, and you go number 3 overall. I'll never get it. I'll never understand that one.
Carson Wentz knocked down that door.
Good hang the banner. Good lead off hang the banner there.
Really
Mackie.
good. Who's up? Who wants to take it?
How about them Cowboys?
Who wants to take it?
I'll take
Go
the
ahead,
next
Cam.
one. Want to give a shout out to my alma mater, James Madison University. Didn't give them much love last week, and had some friends tell me that I need to talk more about JMU, so I'll give them some love on my Hang the Banner segment here. If you didn't see it on Twitter, they announced an official sponsor for mayonnaise. That's right. Duke's Mayo is the official sponsor, the official mayonnaise of the James Madison University Dukes, which is a pretty cool partnership. I think Duke's Mayo, just in general, they just get it. I was at the Duke's Mayo Bowl this past year, and just all the marketing and activation around it it's a really, really cool bowl game. And they do an incredible job on social media, and they're constantly involved with sports. And so I think the partnership with the JMU Dukes and the Mayo Dukes is a pretty cool one. So hang the banner, JMU Athletics. You got yourself an official Mayo sponsor.
I have a qualm with the Mayo Bowl, the Duke's Mayo Bowl.
What's that?
Explain to me how in the heck that it makes sense that the winning coach is the one that gets dumped with mayonnaise.
Oh, wouldn't that be hilarious if the losing coach
Can you
dumped in
imagine
mayonnaise?
you just lost the bowl game, you're 6 or 7 wins, you just lost the Duke's Mayo Bowl on a field goal, and you go to the locker room as the losing coach and they say, "Coach, we need you to come get ready for the mayonnaise bath." Shouldn't be something, that's not a reward.
It's a reward for the players.
Which the fact that I'm glad that you brought that up, Jordan, because again, I was there last year. Just the image of Mac Brown at UNC getting dumped with mayo after losing by 3 touchdowns is just hilarious.
80-year-old Mac Brown.
Oh my gosh. I think, that'd be, it's for charity. So I think that's why the winner does it. But I mean, that would be an unreal punishment if you had to do that. Like imagine, remember that Urban Meyer photo after they lost? I think it was it was either a playoff game or like a national championship or something. He was just eating pizza by himself. Imagine if he was covered in mayonnaise just by himself eating a pizza post game after they just lost a bowl game. So
I'm telling you what, I want to win a lot more if the losing coach is dumped in mayonnaise.
that was a good one, Cameron. What about you, Jordan? What banner are you hanging this week?
Yeah, I was thinking about this, and we've touched on it, but man, Florida State, you've got the first loss of the college football season. You suck on 2 different continents now. You're the first team to ever be 17th in the ACC. That's a historic loss for Florida State. I mean, there's a lot of things that will never be touched on that level of history. So Florida State, hang the banner. You guys accomplished a lot of things, even though you didn't win the game, despite being
Global brand.
double-digit favorites.
Global brand.
Global brand, Florida State.
Florida
Like
State.
it's 1997 or something.
Landon, go ahead and hang a banner for us, buddy.
Hang the banner, LA Chargers. You got stuck in an elevator. Hey, but you did pick off Trey Lance 5 times the next day. So you got something going for you.
Maybe the hotel should hang the banner.
No, I think they just can't read that you can't fit 12 football players in an elevator. The fact that they actually used the escape hatch on the ceiling of the elevator to get out and into another elevator, I always thought that was a myth that there was an escape hatch up there. So pretty cool, but hang the banner.
You've seen Toy Story 2. Of course you can do that.
That's a cartoon.
Are you? No, this podcast is pro Buzz Lightyear, so we are going to always acknowledge his existence. He is real.
I love
Toy
Buzz
Story
Lightyear.
5 coming soon.
It's the best ride at Disney World.
Which one?
Buzz Lightyear.
The one where you shoot all the stuff?
Yeah.
I like the Slinky Dog Dash at Toy Story World or Toy Story Land. It's great.
That's a new generation.
Oh, okay.
Though. Anyway,
My bad.
sorry. Got us
I'm going to wrap us up here for Hang the Banner, and I think this is a Hang the Banner that is near and dear to all of our hearts. If you haven't seen it, you live under a rock. If you're a 90s kid, then you're about to cry if you're listening to us, because this week they have announced through a new development company or tech company called Playground Communications or something like that. It is happening. Backyard sports is back. Backyard baseball, backyard football, backyard soccer. It's all back. All of it. The computer games, I don't know if they're doing it for the PlayStation, for the Switch, for the Xbox. I don't know. I don't care. That game is my childhood. It's my adulthood, if you can even call me an adult. And I am so excited, and I really hope. I'm a little worried that they're going to screw it up, but I'm going to have faith in this team and all the people that they've been reaching out to. There's a girl that's a digital content creator for the MLB. Her name's Caitlin Hendricks. She's been covering this since the first rumored post happened, and she's been doing a great job of covering that. And just all the people that have reached out and all over social media that is talking about this, it's incredible. And I just can't believe that this is actually happening, because having Backyard Baseball back is incredible. It's my favorite childhood game. I almost put it up there as the greatest baseball game ever made. And I know that one of the first conversations that me and Jordan actually had was telling him how to download a emulator on his laptop so he could download Backyard Baseball to play on his laptop at home. And so having Backyard Baseball back, especially Backyard Football too, Backyard Football is incredible. And
the humongous Melonheads went on a run. Let me tell you.
The Melonheads, they're coming back. We have to figure out how to stream this, because we have to have a Press Box After Dark dynasty in Backyard Baseball, and we have to have a Press Box dynasty for Backyard Football as well. I am so excited. That is the game that me, as an only child, I played it all the time. Those kids on the computer are my friends. Pablo Sanchez is a homie of mine. I love that guy so much. I love Backyard Baseball. You're laughing at me right now. I don't care. Pablo Sanchez is the GOAT. He's the greatest athlete of all time, and I can't wait to see the GOAT back in action. What is it? I think it's Backyard Sports Official. Go follow them on everything if you're a fan for more updates. I don't know when the games are officially coming out. The last thing they announced is that it's in the coming months. There's a website. I've already clicked on it. I've already subscribed to get updates, so I'm getting updates. As soon as it drops, I'm playing it immediately. I'm more excited for this than I was for NCAA 25, and I don't even have a PlayStation, so I haven't even played the new NCAA football game. I'm way more excited for this, and I don't care what people say about this and my take on this, but I'm hanging a banner because Backyard Sports is back.
Good job, Hunter. Proud of you.
Thank you. I know y'all are in the chat just laughing at me because I'm going off on a rant, and that's fine. I'm perfectly fine with that.
Yeah.
But does anybody else have anything that you want to add here? We just hung some banners there. Everybody got on their little tangent of what they want to talk about. Anything else y'all want to add?
Suck it, Hunter.
Classic.
Yeah.
Classic.
Did I do that right, Jordan?
You just laid it up
buddy.
for him, Hunter.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That was great to me.
I'm quitting this podcast in a little bit, but that'll wrap us up for episode 2. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Keep listening, keep sharing with your friends. We got to grow this thing, boys. We're only in episode 2, so it's going to take some time. You can catch us on Twitter. That's at PressBoxAD. You can also find us on our website. That's PressBoxAfterDark.com. It's in the Twitter bio. We're on Instagram at PressBoxAfterDark. You can listen to all of our podcast episodes on Spotify and Apple Music. Search for us at PressBox After Dark. And we will see you again in 2 weeks, which will be after week 2 of the college football season. So a lot's going to change by then. No idea what's going to happen in the world of sports until then. We also got to figure out another draft topic for our next episode. So we'll be thinking of that. But check us out. Share us with your friends. Anything else anybody wants to add? No one say suck it, Hunter.
Vote in the poll.
Good job reading that piece of paper there, bud.
No paper off the dome.
It's time for the Sonic drive of the game. And perhaps as far as I'm concerned, the drive of the game may be our drive home from Starkville to Tupelo.
You can't fire me!